Welcome to the Town of Acton Planning Board meeting for Thursday, January 20th, 2022. It is now 6:02. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have any minutes, so we'll just wait till next meeting.
No, I dropped the ball.
Okay.
Happens.
All right, old business. Seth McCoy Trucking and Excavating, 2491 H Road, lot 207-001. Welcome back, Seth.
Copy you wanted.
With the,
What? You guys asked me to have them put on the condition of the dump pile and the side.
right, and this, so you had it drawn on the,
Yep.
okay.
Pass it, keep on passing.
Drawing a blank tonight, for some reason. Gavin, do you wanna look at this too?
Yeah, usually we all,
Yeah, we didn't get,
Copies.
no, I
Got it,
just
one.
had one copy.
oh, when you're done with it, I
All
guess.
right,
We're just gonna pass it around for right now.
This is a draft.
Oh, just a draft?
yeah.
Oh, I thought it was.
Well, it is, I mean, it is stamped, I mean, you guys haven't signed it yet. You're gonna,
Right, no, I know, I just.
I was asked to bring a copy, I could've brought 10.
No, that's fine.
Do you have?
Just take us longer to look at it.
What conditions did you add to it?
It's number, there's a little triangle next to it, I think it's number 7.
Yeah, 7 on operation notes.
Just one?
There are a couple ones there.
Well, yeah, we don't,
So, well, would it help if we just read everything that's on it, that way everybody could hear it?
One, I mean, it's
Or-
only one change that he made, but there was more, I recall.
Well, you had,
Yeah, but it's all one, he put it on one item.
yeah, and then the gravel was really
You wanna
not a
read the one
condition
item, Chris?
for the.
Yeah, the one item that changed was operation notes number 7. Erosion control mix may be used as BMP if needed to protect natural resource area from stump recycling pad. Grinding wood products will only happen for a total of 14 days and operation will coincide with the rock crushing hours of operation. So, is that all of it?
well, usually we have the minutes to look at all the different conditions that we came up with for that date, and we just take that and then hold it side by side, but we did have more conditions.
It was, well, you got, it wasn't a full requirement, you guys required him to move the gravel, so I told him not wanted to put on it, just a requirement, because that's not a condition that's gonna last through it, it was remove the gravel.
Well, by gravel, you mean asphalt?
That's what I meant, I'm sorry, right. That was the only other one,
Well, there's also revegetate the piles of loam
Yeah,
in the spring. 'Cause there were there was like several piles.
right, and I do remember that was one of them.
I didn't have that as a condition, I can guarantee, I wrote the conditions down, and I'll go grab my notebook
Yeah,
downstairs.
go grab them, because you read that one off. I mean, there was a couple more too, I'm just, usually we just take the minutes, open them up,
Right.
bam, 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 compare it to the,
Jason's been busy this week.
Yeah, he is.
well, it's been 2 weeks since we,
I know, but this was hectic.
well, I mean, it's more of an issue for the applicant than us,
Right.
really. I mean,
Right.
you know,
We
it's
know
not
what
on
it said.
there, we have to get another draft, if you can.
Is this a moot point at this point?
Well, I mean, no, it hasn't gone to 100%, but I mean, we did. we do still have to, discuss the issue of the, bond or escrow for the
Stump grinding.
stump grinding. I overlooked that at the, meeting, 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, there is stuff that needs to be gone over still.
So I have the minutes, but I haven't had a chance to approve them myself, so. But I don't have that as a condition.
Gavin,
I think I did.
Gavin, you had Jason.
He's gonna,
Didn't have what is
He
it?
didn't, the revegetation of the
One is it?
loam piles in the
Six.
spring, he didn't have that as listed as a condition.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
I have,
Why would we, I mean, I guess I'm confused. It's already a state rule to revegetate when they stand stagnant. Why do we have to put it in another rule?
just because they weren't vegetated when we came and did the site walk, and so
It's ongoing.
it's something that you should have done already.
It moves the pile of stumps, but the stumps get separated, the loom comes out. I mean, it's an ongoing pile. You don't have to vegetate it if it sits for 30 days.
Well, the loam pile that you've got there, at least the majority of it is supposed to be for reclamation, so once you've piled it up, you seed it and leave it there until you're reclaiming land in your pit.
Which we will be doing in the spring, so it'll be ongoing. That's the part I don't
Yeah,
understand.
it's just, well, we don't need to discuss it tonight, because we already went over it and came up with it as a condition. Whether or not the code officer wrote it down, it's not really,
Gavin, it's not in the minutes.
well, we all
It's just something we're gonna add
discussed
every
it.
time I come in here. Every time I come in here,
No,
you guys are stupid.
that's not something
The bug thing
stupid.
last week.
Okay, I'm not trying to argue
I
with
showed it to you
you.
guys here in the meeting.
We don't have a proper list of the conditions that you were supposed to put on there. They're not all on there. We're
It's
trying
for
to
a
come up
stump
with.
pile. I'm following rules and guidance by permit by rule by the state of Maine DEP, who is going to inspect it on a regular basis.
Well, we can look at it next time, get all those conditions on there. I don't.
Did you even read the stuff I gave you about the pile of inert fill?
Yes,
Yes or
I
no?
read,
Did you read the stuff I gave you?
it's in this packet right here.
Did you say it's in there? It's not, okay.
It's, I don't know, it's the other green one.
Because it's opinions. Everything you say is opinions. You did not read the stuff I gave you guys.
I'm talking about something that
State of
the
Maine calls
the
that pile
DEP
of
required you to
inert
do, and that the town is asking you once again to do.
Which I read its definition, it's been reusing your pit, whatever. I read it.
Basically, what you guys are doing is almost unheard of.
No,
Yeah, Sanford did it.
we're asking you to put all the conditions that we came up with at the last meeting 2 weeks ago on the form. That's all. Not unheard of.
You know, I opened this pit in 2 weeks, and this is my 8th meeting for a pile of stumps, when there's literally piles all over your county of people, of wood waste that nobody even knows is wood waste. I'm trying to follow the rules and be legal. You solved it on bugs last week.
Do we have any questions for him? And why are we going through this on every meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Yeah.
Do all of you guys follow your conditional uses on your property?
Listen,
We don't have conditional use. It
Hang on.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we do on our property. This
It
is your
doesn't?
property.
You're the planning board. You
This is what
represent-
we're
you
talking about.
represent the town
We're talking
tax.
about you, not me, okay? Or any of
I think we
us.
should push, I think this should be tabled for a while.
Can I keep this table? Then we'll talk about schools without public water.
That's a reach. Seth, come on. Jesus Christ.
Every week I've come in here for something stupid.
I have no interest in engaging in this for the evening. If this is the way that you plan to deal with us, I will move to adjourn the meeting.
Most of us has tried to
Okay?
respect you.
I don't
You
want the
owe-
back
You owe
and
us the
forth.
respect as well, and that's it. If you don't
Chris, I
respect.
will agree with you, but it's
Okay.
not in the minutes and it was just said in the
Okay,
minutes.
well, we're trying to figure it out now, so don't.
He wasn't
don't
looking
be
at the
disrespectful. If you're gonna be disrespectful, you can go. That's the end of it.
It's disrespectful to disrespect other people too.
Understandable. I'm not fighting you with that.
So if you guys don't want me to get
Just-
mad, don't provoke me.
So we're not provoking you.
No, that's,
This is how you operate, and I know you.
Okay, Gavin, go right ahead.
No one's
Chris?
trying to provoke you. You understand?
let's go to the issue.
Fair.
If we can, whatever it is.
So I did include in the packet, a state from the, letter from the state entomologist about
Bug.
the bugs, the emerald ash borer and the woolly.
Indulgent.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
I did just find an existing note that asked him to revegetate the loam pile, so you don't need to put it on there. It's already on there. So that covers.
Okay, so with that
couple of them.
concern resolved, where are we now?
Well, we have to, think about the bond or escrow.
Correct.
Right.
We didn't discuss at the last meeting, and that was brought to my attention. And
Jason does have
we need to decide if the removal of the asphalt needs to be on this paper, because otherwise it's not really anything.
I made it, I told him it was just a requirement, it wasn't a condition, it was required to remove it, but it's not an ongoing condition. It's as long, you know, he takes care of it. I didn't feel like it needed to be on the actual conditions. That is something that I'll enforce, I guess.
Okay,
and-
well, I
and
think
deal with
that
that.
maybe the board should come up to, you know,
Yeah.
see if that's the board's opinion, I guess.
It's fine, it's in your guys' hands, that's what I had told him, so if anything, that you can put that one on me, not him.
Well, it'll still be on him, because we have to resolve it.
Right, I'm just saying, I told him not to put it on there, so.
Okay, what does the board think? And then also how much are we, did you come up with figures for the bond? Or
I didn't come up with actual definite figures, I had gotten some pricing for, the stump grindings, is that what it was? It was.
Yep.
It was $8 a yard for stump grindings, but that didn't include how much to haul it off, that I didn't get to do.
So you're saying they bring in a machine?
If they bring in their machine, yeah, it's $8.
Isn't there just, I mean, there's a minimal amount you have to grind or something to make it worthwhile?
The size of the pile I'm asking for would be about $3,000. And you actually wouldn't have to haul the product off, you could spread it out on site.
Right,
Because it's
right.
Erosion control.
Okay, so that's a possible number.
Yeah, because it's basically
Okay.
the pile size, yeah, I called Simpson, basically, he said $8, I asked him for $8 a yard.
Mm-hmm.
I said $3,000, it could be kind of big, but it would roughly be $3,000 to grind that pile.
Okay. Which is
And I
about
did give, I emailed him,
10,000.
I did actually
Yeah.
print it out, I emailed him the quote.
And the pile's about 10,000 cubic yards,
No, it's about 10,000 square feet.
square
About
feet,
500 yards.
500 yards.
That's if it's ground on site, but what happens if we have to haul it out of there and have it ground? What's the cost of trucking? Would be my concern too. We gotta cover that
Why
cost.
would you truck it all out and you can take the grinder to it?
Well, just in case, you never know. Shit happens.
But that
That gives us
makes
a
sense.
number.
It's a reusable product, it can be reused on site, there's,
I'm just saying, you know? That's what all I'd like to see on that end, but.
I'm okay with you verifying compliance with removing the asphalt. I think the question for us is, do we need to have a condition that he brings no more in? As we read in the ordinance, he's not supposed to anyway, so I don't know if we need to make that a condition, but we certainly need to make sure that doesn't happen. I also noted down in terms of the conditions, I did note the seed piles of the loam. If you're happy that it's on there, okay. We talked about no grinding more than twice per year as a condition, not exceeding 14 days of grinding, and I don't know if that got in there.
yeah, it's in there, he put it as 14 days, not as 2 times, because, if it were, as discussed last time.
Yeah, if something broke down,
Operating
you
hours.
could get parts for 2 weeks, you wouldn't be able, you might have to do it 3 times.
It's in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a number of days and it's within a restricted period
I guess
Right,
it's
of the year,
After
which
Labor Day, the
ties
Memorial.
in with what is it? Memorial Day to Labor Day, when we
Yeah,
try to
Labor Day.
minimize noise and traffic, it's within that period. And I believe that's worded appropriately. So, yeah, I think that's good.
We also talked about a berm on the low side of the pad.
That's the BMP. The very beginning of the note.
It's on the new document he put.
You see it there?
Yeah, it's number 7 under operation notes. Erosion control mix may be used as a BMP if needed to protect natural resource area from stump grinding pad. Grinding wood products will only happen for a total of 14 days and operations will coincide with rock crushing hours of operation.
That says the BMP will be used as a berm. That's after he grinds it. Weren't you talking about a berm being in there before he even started operations? Is that what you,
Me?
us?
Oh, okay.
When we talked about the berm on the low side,
Right.
that's something that needs to be in place before operations, right? Because this is worded as if he was gonna use the grounded material to build the berm.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is I could buy it if you guys need it, but it's not needed in that situation because it can't go anywhere. It literally goes to the pit. So we can put it around the base if we want. It's just, I'm just saying that's why you wrote it like that.
What's next?
Well, the berm can be made out of gravel out of this pit. I mean,
I can't hear you, Kevin, I'm sorry.
Seeing them.
I know, but, yeah. Can you speak up, please, so that we can all
well, I
hear?
was thinking that what you meant by, and I just want clarity, that the berm you wanted him to put in there would be made out of something like the gravel out of his pit, not something that he creates after grinding stumps. It's just an additional, barrier, right, is what we're looking at?
I don't know that we specified any specific type of material.
No, we just had, we're asking for
Or
a berm.
before,
but-
he's saying before he starts with the stump
Yeah.
grinding and storing the stumps. Did we want it in there before everything happened?
Yeah, because this,
Timing versus.
this is talking about building a berm out of the material that he creates by grinding the stumps.
Okay.
We were looking at something as an,
That's not what that says. It says that there has to be a BMP,
right,
which is a rule for
In
this
place.
anyway. But what I was saying at the last meeting, the whole site is burned. You can't, the water can't get out. It would run down H Road before it ran out of the pit.
I didn't walk the site, so I don't know.
Is there a berm on the swamp side?
What?
Is there a berm on the swamp side? The low side? The wet area?
It goes up. I showed you guys, if you look, I'll show you.
Yeah, it's a pit.
It goes down about 8 feet right there, and it goes right back up. So this grade right here is just a couple, it's 3 feet above
We're
the
talking
water.
about this side. Your stumps are all over here, and this is low, right?
Correct, but
That's
this
what
is
we're
all
talking
4 or
about.
5 feet or 10 feet
We're
above the
talking
water.
about this wet area.
Yeah, it was a slope down to that.
This is like 6 feet above that grade.
Those
This area
trees
here.
back there, when we were looking up behind the stumps.
There's a berm on this line. Actually, right here.
So the location of the pad, that was something else we asked. The location of the pad is on that now?
Yeah.
Location and size.
Dotted line right here.
Anything else?
Are you gonna sell the grinding, the product?
If I have any left over.
So, as I've said in almost every meeting, note 5C needs to change. If it hasn't.
What does say, 5C say?
Any stump shall be ground and utilized on site.
That wasn't a note.
No.
I'm surprised the engineer didn't notice that, actually.
I've said that every meeting.
Yeah, if we just put in the word generated, any stumps generated on site shall be ground and utilized on site. Fixes it up pretty easily.
All right, so I just want to make sure I jot that down correctly. Any stumps what, generated on site?
Shall be ground and utilized on site.
Do you want them used on site? Or can they go in just the pile?
I mean,
I mean, if you
that
just
was
say,
that, we're just trying to meld the original idea of using all the stumps from the site on the site with the new work you're doing, and I don't think it, I mean, that would be ideal.
I'm not speaking for the people who designed this, but probably their reason for that 20 years ago. This is close to 20 years old, isn't it?
No,
Because at the time, it would have cost money to actually get rid of them, but now you can grind them and use the product. I mean, I don't care, I'll word it how you want,
What's the difference of him bringing stumps in or him using his own stumps that are on the property? Really?
well, it was all about, like, the only difference would be the soils of the site and the contents of the stumps in terms of, you know, it's got more of this mineral or that mineral, kind of like we discussed before with the potential contaminants in the stumps, which we aren't too worried about, I guess.
And the transportation of bugs outside of the state, because you don't know where it would go.
Oh, that letter is coming around. isn't
It's,
it?
you guys all have it in your folder.
It's already in your folder.
Oh, we have it?
Yeah, you have a
I
copy
got a lot
of
of
it.
papers in front of me tonight, yeah,
Yeah.
it's in there. Okay, I mean, that would be ideal if you just piled them separately, ground them separately and used them on the site. That would be ideal, but I don't wanna get that nitpicky, I guess.
I would appreciate it if you didn't, because I'm only allowed to use 10 acres. I'd like to just get rid of the piles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does the rest of the board think? Do we care?
I'm not sure that I understand completely what the concern is about those stumps versus other stumps.
Right.
What is the concern about on-site stumps being ground and being sold versus stumps brought in, ground and sold? Isn't that what do I understand correctly what your concern is?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the only difference, right? And I'm just trying to make the verbiage of,
Do you want to just word it so it says stumps shall not be buried on site? That
Does
pretty
it
much
have
covers
anything to
what
do
you
with
think you're going
reclamation,
for.
Gavin?
yeah, well, we like to see them use the stump grindings to revegetate, you know, help add organic matter back to the site when they're putting the loam down, but
So I think that would suffice.
do we care if he uses stumps that he's hauled in, or does it have to be the stumps that are on the site now? That's the question. I mean, we're getting, you know,
Right.
I think that's too technical. I think the
Yeah,
reason for it
yeah.
is for, just like you keep the loam on site, you keep the organic matter on site.
yeah,
It helps with the reclamation.
The stuff
That's the point of the statement.
the stuff that was already on site. Like you cut down trees, you stump them, you grind them up and you use them to revegetate later, is what I'm understanding. Anybody who does that, cuts down trees to build, has to use those stumps, ground them up and use them there. That's what I understood. That's almost by every construction job or whatever, right? Isn't that what
yeah,
that
that's what,
means?
Right.
that's what
That's
we're
in our
saying right
ordinance
now.
for
yeah.
everything. This is different, you know,
Okay.
you see what I mean? Say he wanted to clear some more area to mine, you cut down the trees, you stump it, you pull the stumps out, or you grind them in place, you use that material, stays on site. But that goes for everybody, building. It's in the ordinance as far as reusing vegetation on site. So it really doesn't apply to stuff coming in, being recycled for whatever use. So I understand this sounds like a conflict, but I mean, if he cut down some more, you know, everything's clear, don't get out of it. If he had to cut down more trees to clear more land for his operation, which he can do, he has to grind those stumps on site and leave them there. That make sense?
Yeah,
But anyone else, like if I have property and I cut trees down, though the stumps on my property can be hauled off and ground elsewhere, and other material has to stay, is that correct?
No, those stumps should be ground.
They have to be done on that site, okay,
And stay on site.
all right.
And I can understand them
Okay.
wanting to do that because that material could be hauled off anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
To cut down on bugs, we're already a contaminated area, so everything needs to stay here.
yeah,
not go somewhere else. So
Okay.
with that understanding, I see it a lot in a lot of ordinances. All that
The whole
material-
state is in quarantine, it's not Acton.
Yeah.
And so he can haul his stumps to,
Well, I mean.
if he wanted to.
Anywhere, but he can't go out of state, or he can't do this, he can't do that. I mean, to me, it's just, what they meant by is, what it is here stays here.
Okay.
So we just kind of keep moving that stump pile around? Because I think that whole pit would be one pile.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys want me to do? Keep those stumps separate?
Well, the ones you haul in, you're gonna use for recycling. I call it recycling.
Resale,
It's basically what
recycle
you
to
do.
resale, right?
We're not talking about new stumps that you create on site because you cut some more trees in. That has nothing to do with it.
Just want to make sure I understand.
Okay. Well, I think I understand better. I appreciate that, and I do see the merit to keeping them.
But that's what that other line actually means. Anything he does on site to create stumps, he has to keep on site. Anything he brings in for recycling doesn't have to stay on site. He's
Right,
manufactured.
right.
So we had to have both lines in there, kind of, you know. To me, that made sense. I mean, it's okay, but
Okay.
So do we add a separate line about the incoming stumps
it's already there. That's what we're talking about.
in the new note?
Yep. Because the new note only goes towards what he's doing for this operation. The other stuff pertain to his original,
Site.
and for anybody actually who creates a construction site, builds a new home, and that one line right there actually applies to all of them. Because it's in your general ordinance stipulation for any new construction, any tree cutting, any stump removal. I think it's covered.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me, just pile them separately, it'll be a fair amount.
Yeah, that's why he's got a pad. That pad's used for only the stuff he's bringing in. The only thing I got on the pavement, I mean, we asked him to get rid of it in 2 weeks, right?
3 months.
3
2
months.
months. What were you gonna do with it anyway?
I was going to crush it and make it reclaim.
So, you still can, right?
No.
Why not?
Doesn't belong there.
It's not an authorized use.
Okay. Well, how you expect him, I just don't know what he's gonna do with it. He's gonna haul it off as it is, or have him go ahead and recycle it.
It should not
Did
have been.
anybody read any of the stuff I gave the code officer about the land use chart?
Yeah,
You guys still after reading that, agree that it's a separate, it's not the same? But you agreed at the same meeting that the stumps were a similar condition?
Are we gonna argue?
I'm not arguing, I'm asking.
Yeah, well, we already went through this.
No, we didn't. We didn't talk about that.
Not supposed to
I gave
be
you
there.
information after
I
the
think
meeting.
the problem they have, to be fair,
Hey.
is you hauled it in, you shouldn't have hauled it in.
How would I know I didn't haul it in? I called the state, they said it's
And I
in our bill.
understand, and I can, I've read it. You can use it in your pit, you can use it
And
anywhere.
you're allowed to, in your own ordinance, haul in up to 9,000 yards of inert fill in any place in town. So just what I was saying, I can legally give it to my neighbor. But I can't keep it in that pile because you guys, for just me on this particular situation, don't want it there. And you're gonna tell me I gotta wait till, if this moratorium passes, after this moratorium, Dean has to keep it there. I mean, in all fairness, at the minimum, you should at least let me keep the pile there till after the moratorium and then talk about it. And just tell me I can't bring any more in.
Okay, my view on this is we already did discuss this. We agreed to the 3 months, which was longer. Let me finish,
Let me
sir.
finish.
No, let me finish because I was talking.
let Bernard
Not
speak.
finished.
I was speaking, and I would like to finish, and then I'll be glad to listen to what you have to say. We did discuss this. We did agree. You are the one, my recollection is, that asked for the 3 months. That
Yeah, an
was
offer.
Okay, whatever it was negotiated, it was agreed to. So now in my view, you're trying to revisit it yet again, and that's whatever. But, you can voice your concern or complaint about how much you have to come back, how we revisit and stuff. This is another example. The time we take revisiting takes away from the time we could put towards moving something forward, And so, I've said it before and I'll say it again, use your time as you wish, but it's limited.
You guys told me at the last meeting that it was my job to prove to you it was the same. I read the entire ordinance and almost the entire comprehensive plan that weekend. And in your comprehensive plan, it promotes recycling, it promotes upgrading your roads, like H Road. H Road was supposed to be upgraded to a collector road the next time it was paved. That road should not even be the width it is. When you guys paved it last year, the year before, you should have upgraded it. It says it in your comp plan. I realize it's expired, but it says it. I read the whole ordinance. The ordinance says light conditions are code officer review. It shouldn't have even gone to the planning board. Even this pile of stumps did not need to go to the planning board. You guys all agreed the last meeting that it was a light condition. It's on camera. And it says in that ordinance, the first page, that that's a code officer review ask. And nobody is taking the time to read the stuff I forwarded.
And that may
This
well
one we
be.
just got tonight.
That may well
The other
be.
one-
I gave 2 meetings back. That wasn't last time.
Well, this just appeared in my folder tonight, and I have all your other paperwork
I believe it's
right here. It's all right here. I have all your other paperwork.
I understand, but you guys told me last meeting.
But I
it
don't
wasn't your
have this
job.
one.
It was my job
So
to
don't
prove
say
to
it's
you.
all, we didn't all get it.
Wait, can you tell me right now exactly what you're referring to, so I can read it?
Land
It
use
was the
chart.
page we skipped when we read the conditions of my, me having mine.
It's on page 17, second line H. Or line I, excuse me.
Uses which are similar to conditional use.
Last block, all the way over to R. It says, in the Aquifer Protection District.
R.
It's a CEO review, is what R stands for.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we did discuss that at the previous meeting too, and uses which are similar condition uses, that's not,
You all agreed on camera. I watched the video. All of you agreed it was similar.
okay, I don't wanna reenact the whole last meeting, I don't have time for
understand,
that.
but you
Chris,
told me
we
to
need
move
to
to it.
put it in the court so that the board can discuss the conditions we need to put on this document, and then move on, okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't wanna go through this again.
No, I'm tired of getting tired of it. It's-
All right, so you're the chairman, and please, this is not a use which
Are
is
you gonna
similar
get
to
rid of it?
conditional use. He already has a conditional
any
use permit,
conditional
he's
use.
adding on to it.
Yeah,
Did you,
you're,
did I just ask you to read?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
yeah, and I read this paperwork, and I read the other one you sent me.
And you agree, you honestly, personally agree that that is a
It's not,
different,
it
I can
wasn't,
change it.
you brought it in, just, no one ever mentioned the concrete pile that's there either. Do you wanna go
It's the
that
same,
route?
it's the same stuff.
I know, but we didn't
Same
mention
stuff.
that, we didn't mention that.
Can we get this condition, can we get this somehow finalized so we can move on?
Well, I guess that, I'm pretty sure we agreed that it was a condition, the asphalt be removed within 3 months.
Right,
If it's not on.
you said 3 weeks on camera, you wanna refer to
No,
camera?
I didn't say that. I said so. I did not actually agree to it. But you also told me to prove to me I wasn't doing anything wrong, and I did. Now, if somebody asked you guys to haul something that was gonna cost you $5,000 off your land and wasn't actually illegal, I mean, you guys, you take the same product to your salt shed, you have the same type of stuff at your transfer station. I realize
Okay,
that's
we went over
nice.
we went over this, Seth, last week, 2 weeks ago, it's getting old. So Gavin, what were
I
you
asked
saying?
you, as the chairman, do you honestly agree
I'm
based
talking
on
to
your
Gavin now.
ordinance?
I'm talking to
Your oath
Gavin
says
now.
you're supposed to uphold the Constitution and the ordinance of this town. On that ordinance, do you believe that I'm breaking the rules?
Gavin, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say the board should decide if they wanna put that on here as a condition or not. And we should get the,
I'm an adult.
The
If you guys tell
3,000
me I have to move it out here, I just asked you to read.
adults
not
let
you.
someone finish
Him.
speaking.
I asked him.
I want it out.
You honestly
I
think
want it
so?
out. We want it out. We asked you to get it
I'll
out. You
get it out
offered to
there
get it
in
out.
3
You
months.
told us you get it
Don't need to put
out.
it-
Get it out.
I can get it out.
End of it.
Well, that's also on
not in
record that he
writing.
did agree
It's
It's
to,
gonna have it in, it's gonna have it in there.
I agreed if you guys made it a condition. That's what I said.
we did agree to it, and it's on camera as well, because at the last meeting we had, you did agree to that. So it should
Put it in there.
All right, I'll make a motion that we add it as, a condition on this plan so that we don't have to do this again.
Right.
Right, a second.
All in favor?
Can I just, before we take the vote?
Yeah.
In terms of discussion, I just want to read in to the record, the document that was provided to us by Mr. McCoy is from the National Asphalt Pavement Association. Now, Mr. McCoy has cited several times that what we say are opinions. This is clearly an opinion from an organization with a potential bias.
Bernard,
And
the letter
I'm reading, I am
State
speaking.
of Maine.
Please don't interrupt the board, that's not how we operate.
Page 2 of the document reads, "The bottom line is that each state's environmental agency will likely dictate whether or not RAP can be used as a clean fill material. Under normal use and circumstances, RAP should never be considered as hazardous waste." But my points are two. One, this is from an organization that deals in, it's the National Asphalt Pavement Association. Number two, the document cites that each state's environmental protection agency may issue their own opinion or findings on this. Now, we're not the Environmental Protection Agency, but we are a board with oversight responsibility, and I don't see how that's really any different. So I just think it's important for people watching at home, so we know what the document is that we're talking about. That's all I have to say.
Bernard, when I gave you that letter, I gave you a letter from the state of Maine,
There's a
DEP.
motion on the table.
that
Yeah,
said
there's
that
a
the state
motion,
falls
Seth,
off.
wait. there's a
Actually, we already
motion.
voted.
Right. Well, no, we were waiting for Bernard to stop.
There was a yeah, I didn't vote yet.
Yeah, so,
There's a
Right.
motion and a second.
motion and second, all in favor of, what was it? It was the, adding that to the,
Yes, adding that the piles of asphalt.
Thank you.
Be completely removed within the next 3 months. Being
Yeah, you don't have to
added
make a
this.
motion, I'll haul it out before you sign it.
We already made
Well,
it.
that's what you said 2 weeks ago, and now you're saying you're not gonna do
I said if it
it.
becomes a
You
condition.
said you were gonna do it,
there's
so
a
we're gonna
motion,
put it on
Seth,
here.
let's
Okay,
finish the motion.
yeah,
All in
there's-
favor? 5-0.
Put it on there, all right? And, now we should, Jason, you're happy with the $3,000 as a,
The escrow, yeah.
Actually, in all fairness, you just said the stumps need to stay on site. If you divide 15,000 by 37, it comes up to $405. So that's all that pile should be valued as, $405. I offered 3,000. But you just said that that reclaim on the pit, those stumps had to be part of the reclaim process.
No, we
You
did
give me-
not.
Yes, you did.
Those
You
aren't
said I had to use them on
No,
site.
we did not. What we said is anything that you get off that site, if you cut down a tree,
So how'd you come up with the 15?
listen. You
that
cut
was for
down a,
that was for the number of acres open, 10 acres open. At the time that this conditional use permit was issued, we were asking $1,500 an
Okay.
acre for the reclaim. That's the 15 grand.
That would include
Already-
grinding stumps.
This is
I'm not
the new
talking about grinding up the stumps on site. We're talking about
Conditions.
adding to the escrow for the stumps that you're hauling in and grinding so that we can, the town could deal with them if you were unable to. And you yourself gave us the $3,000 number and
Yeah.
we thought that was
That's for the, that's for
sufficient.
what you,
And now we're looking to
the pad that
add.
you have. It's not for what you have currently there. Or from your,
I don't have a
lot.
problem with 3,000. It was the number I provided you from the reputable grinding company.
All right,
I think that's good. Because it's a reusable product, it's not a hazardous product.
but we'd still have to grind it and and spread it out. So that's what it would cost to do that. That's what it ought to be. That's all we're saying, right? If we had to do it ourselves. Moving on.
We'd be out.
I'll make a motion that $3,000 be added to the escrow to help with additional work needed.
Related to
Stumps.
the stumps, correct? That's what.
Yep, yep.
A second.
All in favor? 5-0.
Okay, so we'll get those added. Is there anything else anybody wanted added other than the, reclamation note C? Slight change there, which, Jason, you've got that written down.
Yeah, so I have, you had a couple, 5C was any stumps, you wanted to change to any stumps generated on site shall be ground and used on site. And then we also have add the removal of the asphalt to the conditional use so that it states the asphalt will be removed within 3 months' time. Of 3 months' time of,
us signing this document.
okay.
Seth, how high do you plan on making your piles? Is there a limit that should be placed on how high the piles are going to be?
It's actually in the original permit. They can only be 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, but you could put that over an acre.
No, you can't.
To be on the
10,000 square feet is literally 10,000 square feet. You can't go any more than 10,000 square feet.
Well, your pile could be different
24,000.
shapes, right? You could have a windrow, you could have a big pile, you could have a octagon if you wanted to. I think she's asking how tall the pile will be.
Well, I didn't really think about it, but I can't imagine it would be any taller than, I didn't measure it.
Are we talking
30
10?
feet maybe, 40 feet?
High?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how, you can't get, I don't know how you stack them up. You can only go as high as that excavator can reach.
Well, I guess some places drive up on the pile and continue piling. But, I think we should probably just, if we're interested in this, we could limit it at the building height in Acton, which is 35 feet, so that the fire department could easily, not that they're gonna put water on it, but that would be the only number that would come to my head.
Well, that would be your next concern, is if he's in a rush, he's got a pinch, he's gotta smolder out the fire, his excavator needs to be able to scoop, or his bucket loader needs to be able to scoop on top of it.
So you'll always have an excavator on site in case there's a fire?
I have a loader there always. I don't always have an excavator. I mean, most of the time there is.
Can you pull the piles apart with a loader to put a fire out?
Yeah.
Push them around.
Wanna add that in now?
Height restriction.
I also, since the last meeting, gave the fire department permission to use that square spot as it's a pin drop now with, I forgot the names of the company. Yeah, the helicopter rescue people.
What squares, right here?
Lifeline?
Green and white, yeah, like.
No, up there, by the gate.
Huh?
In that area by the gate. So if somebody in a snowmobile or a boating accident gets hurt,
So you got a landing pad for life flight?
yeah.
Good.
So if one of the neighbors that hates me gets hurt, the helicopter can land and help them out.
I can't even use this thing right now.
It's always good to have a spot for them.
Right at that gate.
Well, that was very nice of you.
Awesome.
I'm afraid of putting a height restriction because then that's when they start going back.
It's gonna happen anyway.
I don't know if it's necessary to put a height limit on his pile, honestly, but we can.
Like, well, I don't know, I think, like you said, he's only gonna reach as far as his excavator can reach on top, so, I mean.
But then you
It's not
got the
that
other
high,
stipulation,
but I mean,
that
you can
height
go tit for
requirement
tat
is
and you can-
loose pile only, you know, not compacted.
Not really,
So what's the concern about adding it? Because it
I'm not.
is
I
a
wouldn't have that
legitimate
restriction.
fire safety concern from what I've read, the
Right, but you
height.
can only throw him up as high as his machine can reach.
That's not true.
So,
Well, it isn't true, but I mean, there's other
okay,
ways.
so what's the
but
concern about
he only
adding
has-
it? Is it a delay in getting this done? Is it, what's the
No, I
problem?
just think, honestly, it's a little unreasonable to be, in my.
Well, it only
We get-
become,
I don't know if you know this, but we
Seth.
get constant inspections from MSHA, like, they've been in there 3 times. So they come in and inspect the piles, there's certain ways you have to pile into the piles, they look at stuff all the time.
and is part of that criteria the height?
Pushing it.
I don't
It-
think we should
well,
allow them to have
I don't know,
people
but is
come
there a
in
height
and
restriction
dump
on my
stumps.
dirt piles?
I think it's gonna
Well,
open up.
I don't know, are dirt piles, do they ignite, tend to ignite the way that stumps do?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not that old. I have never seen a stump light itself on fire.
Well, actually,
I don't even know how to argue with that one, because I can't, I've never seen it.
No, but I do know they do have probes.
They have to be ground once a year.
They
so
can
they're never
probe
gonna dry
these
out.
piles for heat, and they do with, mulch. They can stick a probe into them to see what the internal heat is. If it's getting too hot, they turn the pile. I mean, this is the kind of monitoring that's gonna happen from the state. If they're concerned with the heat buildup, they can check it. And if there's too much heat, they're gonna ask them to turn the pile.
I understand that.
The other thing I think about height restriction is, then you're putting in the thing that, okay, we restrict him 35 feet, he goes to 40, he compacts it. That generates more heat. So I don't think we should worry about the height restriction if he can only pile them so high with a front end loader. It's not like he has a crane or anything, but I think you're asking for more trouble if you put height restriction. He can negate height restriction by compacting the pile. And that gets to
And they
be,
have to be ground every 12 months, so they're never really gonna dry out.
yeah, so they
On the inside.
don't, they don't dry out compacted. I mean, for him to process them, it's better when they're dry. It would make sense to him to do that anyway. I don't think a height requirement would necessarily be necessary.
No, I don't, I'm not seeing it, to be honest. I think it's just, we're just,
I think it's all set.
yeah.
Yeah, he can't go that high without a crane, so, using his equipment,
Surprised.
just my opinion. And I'm no pro at this, but
What do you think, John?
I don't think it's necessary.
All right, so we got those 3 conditions, let's get those on there, and,
3 or 2? Or are you talking about the escrow? Is that like,
yeah, that's one of them.
So, are we changing the wording of the stump, of the line that's on the pit? That's part I don't really understand, 'cause it seemed to me like we circle back, to the same thing.
for 5, for what, 5C?
On-site stumps. That doesn't change, it's staying the same.
No, it doesn't, because it says right now the stump should be grounded and stay on site, right?
That comes on your, it stays on, it's from your site, stays on
So
your site.
is it,
everything that was in there before you applied for the stumps coming in for recycling still goes. If you cut down a tree on your property,
It's gotta stay there.
that stump has to stay there. That's all we're talking about. That's been in there.
But it's already there, so we don't
Yeah,
have to
it's
add
already
it.
there. That's
Generated on-site shall.
Right, it's in-
has nothing to do with what you're bringing.
This,
just add generated on site, so make it there. You're okay with that one?
Yeah.
So then I have that one, and then I have the removal of with the removal of asphalt, and then you were saying there was 3? I'm missing one.
the bond. or
Okay, and the
escrow.
surety bond.
You don't want a surety bond.
No, what, I said the wrong word. Escrow. I want a, cash escrow.
So where do you want that escrow, in number 7, or do you want it?
Does it go on there?
3,000?
Wouldn't that be updating what he has already? For the amount. That would just be an adjustment to the amount he had already, right?
Right.
Correct.
We're just,
It's an additional 3,000 related to
so
the
wherever
stump.
that is, right?
So I have cash escrow totaling $3,000 to be placed toward the reclamation bond that previous exists. Is that good enough?
Yeah, and you could put it under
7.
operation notes right after after number 1 for the restoration surety acceptable to the town shall be posted in the amount of 15,000 and an insurance certificate shall be filed with the town prior to commencing operation. I put it next to that. It's the only thing that relates to it.
What's that? You're gonna email me that?
Yeah. I'm sure you'll call me 10 times tomorrow.
I'm not gonna call you.
I'm just kidding.
Done deal.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
So, we do another meeting, back and sign it?
Yeah, if everything's on there, yeah.
Just get all that stuff on there, come back and,
If the pile's gone before the next meeting, you still want that written on you? Because I'm gonna come back for a conditional use change as soon as I can.
Yes, I still want
And
it.
I would like it on
The
the
board
record.
would like it written on
Just,
there.
that when I handed you that paper, I handed a letter from the state that said it was the same. I gave it to every single person except for Patricia, that letter. I skipped over her.
Yes, that's, I have no problem with that. But what I'm saying is,
But you didn't when you went on public about the thing saying it was biased, you didn't reference that I had a letter from the state.
that's
That's
fine.
what I didn't like how you said it. You acted like a lawyer.
Hey,
so,
you, so you got we'll get your conditions, I'll email them to you tomorrow, and we'll get you in. Get that signed off, right?
Did answer my question about the,
what?
He said yes.
Yes.
He still wants it on
I
there.
do want it on there.
all set?
Yes. Thanks, Seth.
we are allowed to add conditions more stringent than those of the state. And so my point was that that letter or that document acknowledges that states may vary in whether they accept what's stated in the document as sufficient or whether they might place another restriction on. And whether the state of Maine places more restrictions or not does not govern whether we as a planning board might
I
add
don't
more.
disagree with you one bit, and I'm not here to argue with you. My point is I called the land use as well, and your ordinance does not specify anything. So you can say I can't do it, yes, but you don't have anything to base it on, because you don't have it in your own rules. You define that is clean fill in your own ordinance, and then you're telling me I can't have it. That's the part that's, if it said in your ordinance, you can't have asphalt, because we don't consider it clean fill, then I wouldn't argue with it. I wouldn't have even brought it in there, because I would've known. But your ordinance doesn't say that. It literally says that it is considered clean fill and is acceptable for grading excavation. It says it in your ordinance.
Okay,
That was my point.
yep, and
And you're telling me that basically,
Well-
that town of Acton can say, we can make the rules, we can break the rules.
We're gonna move on.
Yeah, but he's.
I know, all right.
It's all one-sided comments, that's how Acton operates.
Okay, Seth. I think you had more to share than your own comments here, so I don't think it's a one-sided thing. So we can add that to one more point, okay?
Moving on.
Next.
Next. Continuation of proposed June 2022 zoning changes, deadline, zoning ordinance definitions and proposed changes with North Star Planning. Bernard, you did some work over the weekend, or week.
did. You know, I think, I don't know if you have in mind what you want to tackle tonight, which one, but I think that the mixed use could be a pretty easy one.
Yeah, we can start off with that one.
If you want, if you're agreeable, if everyone's agreeable to that.
That'd be fine with me.
Okay. So my understanding is that the issue of, you know, what generated considering amending the land use ordinance around the issue of mixed use on property was trying to make it easier or allow for mixed use in commercial zoning, so that because there's not a high demand for commercial property in Acton presently, and the holders of that property have an investment that they're not really able to capitalize on. And that it primarily was to allow residential use in a commercial zone, if I understand correctly, as a mixed use with commercial. the proposed language that we received from the consultant was to look at allowing mixed use in a number of zones. And so it gets very intricate as to which zones and how and so forth. And in my view, the presenting problem is trying to facilitate mixed use in a commercial zone. And I think that if we just limit the inquiry to that, we can make a proposed ordinance to do that, that will, you know, be easy to do, easy to understand, and won't involve people, the voters, having to look through and scrutinize, well, you know, do I agree with mixed use in commercial but not in residential, or this zone or that zone, and you could lose the whole thing when what else you really want to accomplish, I think, is to make mixed use allowable in a commercial zone. So I think the broader you make it, the more potential there is for confusion, the more potential there is for disagreement as to another type of zone that could lead to you losing the whole thing when the objective's pretty narrow, if that makes sense. So that's what I recommend we consider looking at.
I agree with that, Bernie. I think that you encapsulate what got it before us. The thing I've been struggling with this is adding a definition of mixed use. When we have a mixed use zone that's discussed on page 1. And if you go through and look at the two commercial zones that I think we're talking about, I guess commercial B we could have some discussion about, but if you go through the land use chart, mixed use and the commercial zones have essentially the same requirements except for a couple of cases revolving around, you know, residential kind of requirements. So along the lines that you're talking about, I think my personal opinion, the simplest way and least confusing, you know, I can just imagine the discussion about a mixed use zone and then the definition of mixed use. I can imagine that veering off track pretty easily, pretty quickly. But if we were to just add to the commercial districts on page 1, some language that does include residential uses, you know, something like an and at the end of, say, commercial A, oriented to small commercial businesses and allow a mixture of commercial and residential uses. And we did that for C. Again, I think B, we could probably discuss. And then in the land use chart, there's about 3 blocks we have to change, as I went through it and looked at it. And to me, that's a simpler way than defining mixed use when we have a mixed use zone that's addressed on page 1. It just, to me, that opens a can of worms that could quickly spiral down the rabbit hole.
So, commercial A and commercial B, you want to add it, then C is the question, was that?
No, I think
B
B,
is the question.
I mean, I'm not against it also being in B, I just thought that might be,
Right here.
something we should discuss. I think A and C, it's pretty cut and dried. And then, for instance, if you go through the land use chart, again, the only difference is we'd have to change, on page 14, the multifamily, the planned unit, knows to either site plan or subdivision requirement as is done in the mixed use. And I think those were the only ones as I looked quick today.
I don't know if this would help or not, but the last town I was in, I was on their planning board, and we had this definition of mixed use. And what it came down to is kind of like what you've got for a village district. The mixed use being you could have a commercial building, a church, a school, and houses, all in like a village type area, which allows, all of the descriptions, the commercial, the residential, and everything is what we use as a definition, but this town also had businesses downtown and some other things. I'm not saying it was bigger than here, it's just had a different use. So our definition of mixed use was like tiny village that has your store, a church, gas station maybe, and houses. So I don't know if that's what they're looking at here, as a mixed use. What they mean by that is that it kind of combines all our zones into one area. What's allowed there is just about anything.
Do we currently not have any definition of mixed use?
Well, we have the definition of the mixed-use district,
Yeah,
which is in the very front of the ordinance, it's not in the definition section.
yeah, the zoning ordinance here, the village district,
Page 1,
page 1 says number 7, the district is designed to allow mixed uses.
Right, and that's what generated my question.
Yeah.
Because
And
it
then number 11.
references mixed use, but it doesn't say what mixed use is.
if you look at number 11 on page
Number 11? Okay, thank you.
is the mixed-use district.
Okay,
So there is a little bit of, it's very similar terminology.
yeah. So would it suffice to change whichever commercial districts that we're looking at changing, to make a statement to the effect that they allow mixed use as defined in the mixed use district, which then tells you it's residential and commercial?
I think if you go and change zoning, I have to double check it. If you go and change zoning, it has to be done to like a public hearing, and you have to notify the abutters of the zoning and all this, all that other good stuff.
Yeah, all
So it
of
becomes a
this,
little bit more complicated than just changing definitions and putting something in the ordinance,
Well, your first thing would do is define mixed use. What is our definition of mixed use? I mean,
We don't
really
have-
don't understand what we're trying to define. Mixed use zones, mixed use. I mean, if we take this zone over here that's rural, will we make a mixed use place in that rural area that allows like a commercial building, like a gas station that, or, grocery store for that rural, for that area? Really I haven't seen a definition of our mixed use.
right,
What will we define it as? I think that might be a better starting point, and then we could actually apply it to what we already have. If we have a definition, okay, what do we mean by it? Does that mean, a little area where we can have like a little village, which means a commercial, residential, type area.
But there is a village district.
Yeah, you have a village district which could actually be called a
Already is.
mixed use.
It's one of those sections.
So again, the objective is to allow for mixed use in commercial districts only, if that's what the board wants to do. So we don't have to get into all the other types of districts that already exist. Should they be mixed use or not? No.
That's kind of what you're defining, because let's say you had mixed use allows for a commercial building. You just don't want a mixed use in your rural
All
area.
rolls in, so.
Well, we're not talking about allowing commercial use anywhere other than where it already is allowed.
Is that what you're planning?
We're talking about allowing
A and C.
other uses that are currently restricted to commercial. So like if someone has a commercial property, can they use it both for, could they have a small store and some apartments, for example? Mixed use, but only in that zone, only in commercial. We're not looking at changing multiple zones in Acton to be mixed use, because that would be a much more complex undertaking, and I'm not aware of any demand for that.
Well, that would be part of your definition, that mixed use pertains only to.
Well, or which zones it's allowed in, too.
So that narrows it down right there, because then you can go into what commercial zones, you already have all that, right? There's your definition, or part of it.
Yeah, there might be.
Or the restrictions for mixed use. Only commercial zones.
It's easier to do it your way, to get it through.
I like the way John.
It usually
I don't
is.
understand this
Just
layout,
kidding.
because he's just talking about contractors.
It depends on who you ask, apparently.
Mixed use.
But then John's thinking through here. They're all the same. Except for-
No, there's another one, it's this one.
Well, yeah.
This is incorrect right here. This is,
These two are the same, they're the same sheet.
no, they're not.
Okay, you got it up.
See, one of them, he had that same heading on both of them. So you gotta look at the one, this one, the definition of that, this one, the definition of that. This is the one.
Okay.
Any input, Gavin?
I think we're getting close on it.
I was just looking.
I think we should put it into the, in terms of putting it in the land use chart. I think we should put it under residential structures and uses. I mean, it could either go there or under commercial and industrial. And I just put at the end, so we don't have to change all the letters of either one of those. And then, yeah, I'd say we start slow, we don't just, because this definition on the North Star sheet, is talking about mixed-use buildings, and what we have in the ordinance only talks about mixed-use districts, which is a house next to a church, next to a there's a multiple uses on different lots. This is allowing multiple uses on one lot. So I think starting slow and just going with, commercial A and C makes sense. And then we see if we like that, maybe the village area or the transition area would be areas to look at opening it up to in the future if we'd like the result.
Okay. I'd like to make a suggestion, if we are all on the same page or get to that point. That if what we decide is, for example, we're going to define mixed use, add that, propose that that be added to commercial A and C zonings, and then go through the land use chart, that if we decide that's how we're gonna proceed, which I would support, that's as far as we go tonight. And I understand that at some point tonight, we're gonna talk about the land use workshops idea that we talked about at the last meeting. And so if we're gonna have, I think we have a date reserved for next Wednesday
Wednesday, correct?
at 3. In my view, that sort of exercise of going through the land use chart, you know, that's more intricate scrutiny, detail-oriented. That would be better done at a workshop, and then it's brought back before the whole board. The workshop will have no decision-making authority, but rather than trying to do that tonight, I think it would take a lot more time tonight than, I just think it would be easier done at a workshop to do the more intricate part, then come back and say, this is what we suggest. But, yes or no?
Could do, I'm uncomfortable with the amount of times that we put off doing these sort of things, but generally,
We could do it that way and maybe get through this and only this tonight. That would be another
right,
approach. We would have it done, that's true. Okay. All right.
so, you know, I think we're gonna need the workshop to go over more of these things anyway. Right. It's gonna be a full day.
Yeah.
So are we gonna do a meeting next Thursday as well? Or just workshop on Wednesday and then meeting on Thursday, as I think we have scheduled, right?
Right.
I think we need to do both so we can keep moving stuff ahead.
But that would be an extra meeting too, right? 'Cause this is the
Yes,
first-
I think I had already put it in there, I'll double check, but
Okay.
I won't, yeah, cause that's the one I remember saying I won't be around.
Yeah.
There is not,
I'll be here,
I mean, if the agenda is just the zoning ordinance changes, then I think that makes sense.
yeah, it
Then we
is.
can bring the information from the workshop right to the board the next day and
Right.
then pass that on to North Star,
yeah.
because we need to get back to them.
Yeah,
Right. So you wanna work on that, adding those fine details in on Wednesday? Possibly?
I'd do either one, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of information to go through. I mean, we can try to pin this down tonight, if you want, or,
I'm fine either way.
I mean, does everybody, what do people think for the, land use chart? Would it go into residential uses or commercial and industrial?
I agree, my thought was the same as yours, that I would suggest it's only applicable to commercial A and commercial C
Right,
to start.
okay, so we would have
Let out, let out.
village area and transition area and rural area and critical rural and commercial A are, commercial B and commercial C are mixed use R? Or do you want to keep mixed use as the definition existent in the zoning ordinance?
My suggestion is that we propose an amendment, have a mixed-use definition that allows for multiple uses in the same structure, and that it be restricted to commercial A and C zones.
Okay, so mixed use would be N, resource protection N, shoreline N, and Little Ospey N.
So you can't do mixed use and mixed use.
Oh, yes, as it currently is allowed. If
Right, but that's what I was wondering, if this here definition, if we put something like mixed-use buildings, some sort of terminology that would differentiate it from the mixed-use district, because I feel like that's just kind of a strange terminology to enact.
Yeah, and I'm not altogether sure where the mixed-use district is.
Oh, it's
Does it?
right in the front of your ordinance, it's French Street, down by Milton Mills.
Okay,
Red,
It's blue on mine.
blue, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's blue on this, right down here. I think everybody,
yeah, I see now,
and
thank
then,
you.
you know, when it is an existing village area, pretty much.
So if people don't have a problem with mixed use being in the same structure in the mixed use zone. I don't know enough to take a position on that.
Well, for instance, we had the applicant come in for the storage units at Old Herd Lumber. Now, he would be allowed to do mixed use in that, facility. He's allowed to have something else other than just storage units there. And I think that would be fine, but, I mean, that would be one of the locations I would see, utilizing this change.
Well, couldn't that person currently do mixed use in separate buildings or not? If he's in the mixed.
It would be on the same lot, though.
Right,
Right now, we like each lot to have its own use.
I see. Okay.
What do people think about changing this to say mixed-use buildings? Or structures, mixed-use structures? Because it doesn't, if we did that, the definition itself might need a little bit of tweaking. Because the first half of the definition, the development of a neighborhood, tract of land, building or structure with a variety of contemporary and integrated uses, such as but not limited to residential, office, manufacturing, retail, public and recreation in a compact urban form. So he kind of threw in development of a neighborhood is kind of a little bit.
Well, it does include building and structure. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the definition.
there's a lot
It's
in there.
worded.
Yeah,
But I do,
I mean, we could just get rid of the first part of the definition and have building or structure with a variety of contemporary and integrated uses. Mixed-use structure, and then start it right after the first comma in the existing definition.
I do favor a mixed use within the same structure,
Okay.
personally. If somebody wants to
Does the
take
board
it,
feel comfortable with that? Is that,
It's happening where you cut those, where we went through this process. It's
Yeah, I
kinda
mean-
happening there.
if somebody wants to build a small convenience store with apartments, I think that's a good use. Because if you say, oh, well, if you put the apartment houses up, then you can't do the store in the same structure, that isn't particularly helpful. And actually, you know, if we have people building like a two-story building instead of 2 or 3 one-story buildings to keep them all separate, I think that's a lot more appealing visually.
there's less impact, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've still, okay, so then we've still gotta roll this land use chart that we just read through into the ordinance. Do we want it under 2.7.2 or 2.7.3?
I think .3,
I would say that's where it kinda would fit, I would think, better.
Which one?
2.7.3.
I feel like commercial and industrial would be more. So it'd be at the end of that one.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
And just so I got this right, you wanna go over, the uses in each district so I can have these noted properly?
Yep, where there's the 4 question marks, we'd put 2.7.3 commercial and industrial.
Do you have any residents in that?
Yep.
And then we'd have, letter O.
Yep.
Mixed-use buildings. And then we would have, village area, no, N, transition area N, rural N, critical rural N, commercial A, R,
R, yep.
commercial B and commercial C, R, mixed use district R, resource protection N, shoreline N, Little Osprey N.
Good, okay.
I agree.
And then we would add the word buildings in the definition.
Well, we're gonna strike out development of the neighborhood, tract of, or encumbered
Yeah, that's
tract of
what I
land.
would-
Strike that out and start right with building or structure.
Yeah. I'd put mixed-use structure, and then the definition starts with the word building.
Okay.
And what do we do on page 14? Residential structures and uses for A and C, a multifamily dwelling, planned unit development. Do those not change for A and C? And wouldn't that be at odds with what we just said?
Are you on page 14, John?
Yes.
14,
Yeah.
C,
C and D under 2.7.2.
C is for a duplex, so,
Right.
and then D
Well,
is
D and E is.
3 and up.
Yeah.
So you're saying allow a multifamily dwelling in the commercial A and C districts?
Well, we've just said that if it's a dwelling, singular, it's a building. We've just said it's okay in industrial, in commercial, under the new definition of mixed use. So my question is, what happens for D and E?
Yeah, we could open up commercial A and commercial C to multifamily dwellings. And then planned unit developments are generally like, they put in the road, they put in the electricity, and it's like a mini mall, or even like a very well planned out subdivision would be like a planned unit development. And then a cluster development is a type of subdivision, so does the board want to allow those things in the commercial districts, or do they want to keep that room for uses that don't take up as much acreage as planned unit developments and cluster developments? I think we should open those up to the multifamily dwelling. I think that makes sense.
That'd be right along here.
So D would become
D would,
site plan review for A and C.
yeah,
Then I think we're consistent. I don't think we're consistent unless we do that. I'm okay with not for the planned development.
I'm just concerned that the size of the districts we're talking about isn't really that big, and you get a few of these, bigger projects like that in there, and it just takes up a lot of the acreage, but
I don't think they fit anyway.
right, I mean, it might be hard to pull them off anyhow, but
Yeah, it's not meant for that.
not having scrutinized the size of the lots in the districts,
Yeah.
I'd say we just leave it alone for now.
But change D,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I'm good with that.
So D multifamily dwelling would change to an R under commercial A and C, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah,
I think we'd go a site plan review.
site plan review.
Yeah, because that's what multifamily dwellings call for in the village transition and
Yep.
rural, just to keep it consistent.
Yep, okay. But they're possible, yep, okay.
Would we want to add it in the, oh, mixed use, it already is site plan review, okay, yeah, that looks good. Oh, what else we would? Let's try that. Jason, you got that?
Some of it. I was just looking at her notes to see what she had on hers too.
Right, if you got it between the two of you, I guess.
We'll have it on camera too.
Yeah.
We'll have it for you. I should have had these minutes for you guys this week too, but I got tied up with other stuff, so. But we will have 2 sets for you next week.
Well, I mean, we could even send the one to North Star, if you think you have our thoughts down clearly enough that we don't have to read the document. You think we should review a draft of this?
I'd rather wait, look
Okay,
at it,
all right.
and send it.
Okay, I think that makes sense, because that would save backtracking. All right,
Okay, so that gives us mixed use, okay. S, yep. Page 14.
So I asked if you had it because I had it and then I lost it.
yeah, it's just buried probably.
I saw that you had
Okay.
two, so I had to ask if one of those was mine.
Other one.
This commercial A and commercial C,
A.
right?
And C.
Multifamily.
Okay.
Do we want to discuss contractor yards tonight?
I think,
We'll do that Wednesday.
What do you want to do on Wednesday?
let's do it Wednesday. I think we should just,
Yeah, yeah.
All right?
I think we'll have some good time next week with the workshop as well as another meeting that you guys can handle a lot of that.
Okay, so the workshop will be next Wednesday at 3 here. Whoever can make it, that's great. I did have a discussion with Jennifer on the issue of whether we had to have a quorum here or not. I'm of the opinion we do not, and she agreed, because we're not voting on anything. Even if we have a quorum, there will be no voting on anything. Everything that we discuss at the workshop will come back before the full board. And as we all know, in terms of transparency, and so forth, there's no problem with people less than constituting a quorum having discussions. So if, like Gavin and I were gonna sit and talk about stuff, and there weren't 3 of us, then that's not a problem, okay? So that's essentially what we're doing in a workshop, even if there's only 2 people here. But in terms of accountability and transparency for the public, we're recording it. So I think it's actually more in the public interest that we do that than that 1 or 2, people have these side discussions. The public knows everything we talked about. And again, there'll be no voting even if there is a quorum, so. Yeah, so Jennifer did ask that we confirm that the board is comfortable with that. If the majority of the board says, I'm not comfortable with that concept of the workshop, I want everything done in the meeting, then, I don't think she has the authority to say you can't do that, but she's just stating preference would be that the board approves doing the workshops that way.
No, I think we already. Didn't we already? Yeah, we already.
Yeah,
approved
I
it.
told her I thought we already had agreed, but is there anybody that objects to that, I guess is the question.
I do not, I think it's the only way we're gonna make progress. But get them done by the time we need to get them done.
Okay, so next Wednesday at 3, and then our regular meeting Thursday. Great.
Next, we're going on to new business.
Yep.
New business, David Pepin Mineral Extraction, H Road 220-007, on West Shore Drive, 221-003, application for mineral extraction.
I can put your map up on the screen.
That'd be great.
Even though it's not.
Matt Pepin with R. Pepin & Sons, Inc. out of Stamford, Maine. And here tonight for the first time to introduce our project to the planning board. So we are looking to try to develop a gravel pit on a property that we purchased recently here in Acton. The total size of the property is about 480 acres. And if you look at the map here, we can see to the right-hand side of the page, we've got West Shore Drive. Kind of to the left-hand side of the property, we have the H Road. So out of this 480 acres,
Can you point those two roads out? I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
H Road and West Shore Drive.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm trying to get rid of the topo, so
Sorry.
just bear with me. There's so much on this chart that it's making it run slow.
yeah, it's a lot the first time you look at it, so I'll do my absolute best to help you guys get your bearings.
Appreciate it.
A little bit. So the areas that you're seeing in tan are the areas that we're proposing to develop as gravel pit area. That totals about 80 acres.
Is that part?
So we've got two separate extraction areas that we're proposing to the planning board. The first area is abutting the H Road, and you can see it labeled there as extraction area 1. That is about 11.9 acres. That
It says 14.7.
Okay, I apologize. I haven't updated a plan that I'm going to be giving to the planning board. I actually have copies of it here. There weren't any major updates, but one thing that we changed was we actually ended up giving the land trust more property. I met with Carl Davis a few days ago, and we were planning on giving the Three Rivers Land Trust about 66 acres, and we were able to look at it more closely, and now we're planning on giving them 93 acres. So to make that happen, we actually ended up reducing the size of the extraction area near the H Road down to 11.9 acres from the 14.3 acres. Part of the reasoning for that was that we wanted to provide a roadway in the southern end of that extraction area for the land trust to use to be able to get out to the piece of land that we're planning on donating to them. So that extraction area size did decrease a little bit. And we will have a roadway, essentially a right-of-way for the land trust to come in across that extraction area to the land that we plan on donating to them. And the parcel that we plan on donating to them is outlined on this plan in red. As I mentioned, I'm going to be getting you guys an updated plan that...
If you could send that to me electronically, that'd be great, because this is the old one, like you said in the old one. Your new one has that chart that's all on it.
It does.
I just can't pull it up on the screen.
I should have sent that over to you before tonight, but I kind of just got this revision done. I apologize for that. So essentially the plan with the land trust, to dive into that a little bit more, is that this roadway will come, if you know where their Goat Hill location is, the roadway is right across the street from the little parking area that they have right there at the Goat Hill Preserve. So you'd be able to walk across the street from that parking lot, and you'd hop on. There's going to be a road that they can use, and they could also use it as a trail if they wanted to, but they could use it as a road to come in and do maintenance on the trails. That roadway will allow them to access the 93 acre parcel that we're planning on donating to them. That parcel, speaking with Carl Davis, they're going to have a number of trails that kind of travel all throughout that parcel. Carl's got one spot that he's looking at for a picnic area, which is gonna be really nice. It's gonna overlook Square Pond. It'll be a great area for the community to be able to hang out, and you can hike out there, eat lunch, get a great view. So also part of the plan is that there will be a trail that runs from the 93-acre parcel, and it runs north, and that trail is gonna connect on to, is it Old Shapley Road? And that's gonna allow the land trust, they're planning on eventually working with some other landowners, to be able to eventually head from Old Shapley Road to connect a trail system up to their parcel on Hanson Pond. So we're working with the trust to try to get them to connect the Goat Hill Preserve to the Hanson Pond Preserve.
Old Shapley is labeled as Redgate, is that what we're talking?
Redgate Road, yeah.
Jason, do you have that pointer? Because
I didn't know where it was, and I will have one next time.
Matt, can you just come up and just show us?
Yeah, I
where-
could do that.
What you were talking about and show us going through?
You see where my mouse is? This is Redgate, or Old Shapley Road.
This is Redgate Road, so the trail's not shown on here right now. It's gonna be shown on the updated plans. I do apologize for this. This is kind of some stuff we've been working out with the land trust, but the trail's essentially gonna come from here, and it's gonna come down. It's gonna come around. It's gonna cross, our Hall Road, our proposed Hall Road here. And then it's gonna come up into the piece of land that we're donating to the land trust, which that piece of land is, will be, my apologies. That piece of land, I'll just kind of outline it real quickly. It's gonna extend down to here, around, up. So this is about 93 acres right here. This whole piece right here. And the land trust is gonna have a number of different trails that kind of, throughout this area. Right here, we think that they'll likely have a nice picnic area that'll overlook Square Pond. Again, they'll have a trail somewhere around here that will take them up, so that they can try to continue to make these trails connect up to the Hanson Pond Preserve. So they're really excited about it. We're excited about it. We think it's going to be a real win for the town of Acton and for the community altogether. And as part of that proposal, we're really hoping that the town's going to work with us to help us get these few extraction areas developed for us. In total, like I said, we want to do about an 11-acre section right here where we can remove the sand and gravel. And then we also want to do another section over here. We see 40.4 acres and 27.3 acres. We would have one roadway entering the site from the H Road, and that roadway is right here. It's right across from Landscape Depot, the current Landscape Depot. This is right across from their current entrance. And we would actually put it in writing with the planning board that we would never come into this property to extract gravel from West Shore Drive. We'd only be coming in from the H Road. I guess I'll go back to the podium if that's
You might come back up here though.
One little thing that's important that you guys should hear right off this gravel, because I was showing it to people today. The piece of gravel, where's the out of the pit? The little piece of gravel that we have here, it's like, 100 feet high. It's so big. There's like enough gravel for our family for 150 years. You will not see it from the road. The bank is so high when we are on the other side, we will begin the gravel from. It won't be like in this pit where you see a big open pit. And it's important for the visibility of the road. We will be on the, I can't quite see what it is on here, but we will be on the other side of it. So that where we're digging and getting the gravels on this side, you won't see our screener, you will not see our trucks, our motor. You'll go down this road and you'll just see that thing. And it's the same with the back piece. You don't, people that ride the road anywhere on this land do not see any gravel pits. It's all gonna be contained on the land. And a lot of people have asked that, so even though there's one parcel that's by the road, we're gonna be digging on the back side of it. And the bank's so high, you won't be trucks seen there or excavators or anything. And people like that.
Yeah, this section of the gravel pit, you really won't see from the H Road. The engineers have all assured me that we've got a 200-foot buffer in place from all wells along the H Road and West Shore Drive. The DEP requires a 100-foot buffer for all bedrock-driven wells. We're not about to go out and survey every single well along the roadway, so we just stuck with a 200-foot buffer from all wells along both H Road and West Shore Drive, which is really going to keep us a pretty far distance away from both of those roadways, and keep us well secluded, kind of out in the middle of the land where nobody's going to see and or hear us. When my dad says that one area has enough material for us for 150 years, that area has a lot of rock that we need to keep our concrete company going. That's the kind of the glacial deposit that we found there. The reason why we also need to go and try to extract some materials towards West Shore Drive is because that's kind of more of a sandy material. And we also need that sand for our concrete production. So that's why it's pretty important for us to be able to extract materials from both different areas here. We have really absolutely tried to do our best to dot every I and cross every T. We've gone above and beyond. We've hired St. Germain Engineering out of Westbrook. I've got Kyle here with me tonight who's going to hop up and say some words in a minute.